Hey guys, welcome everyone. I welcome you all to the 30 Days of Amplify's Kickoff edition. Uh, hope everyone can hear me fine. Can you please confirm in the chat? I see a lot of excitement going on in the chat. Cool. Awesome. Thanks. So before we begin, let's start. Is it better now? Bhavesh, can you confirm if you can hear me fine now? Is my voice better? Alrighty, thanks. Let's start with the with an amplify video and let's come back. Hey guys, sorry. I think there is some technical issue that the audio was not getting played. But yeah, let's start without it. I'm going to share my screen. Once it's visible, can someone please confirm the chat? Thanks. Hey guys, again, welcome everyone to 30 days of AWS Amplify. In the next 30 days, starting today, we are going to learn a lot about AWS Amplify. For those who still don't know, AWS Amplify is a full stack framework to build and deploy web and mobile applications. We are going to have an awesome lineup of speakers, so stay tuned for the updates starting today. We will have our three speakers here, starting with Nikhil Swaminathan. He is the head of product for AWS Amplify. He is joining us live from United States. Sunil and Rajani will be speaking from India. Without further ado, let me bring Nikhil on stage. Hey, Nikhil, how are you?
Hey Amandeep, how's it going? I'm good.
I'm good. Thanks for asking. So, thank you for joining us so late from the United States. I understand that you are.
Seattle, yeah. So I'm based in Seattle. So it's 11:15 p.m. here. So it's getting a little late, but I was pretty excited to be here to see you know to kick this off for Amplify India. I just the background. I grew up in New Delhi, so and kind of started my career as a software engineer, moved into product after I did a startup. So the general space that we're solving today with Amplify has been something I'm very passionate about, and knowing the developer ecosystem in India as well. Uh, I feel like there's a lot. I feel like it's very untapped in terms of the capabilities Amplify offers. And so I'm super excited to kind of showcase the stuff we've been building with Amplify today.
Awesome. Thanks, Nikhil. Would you like to begin with your keynote?
Yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen.
Sure.
Just give me 1 second. I'm just having an issue with my screen share. Just give me one minute.
No problem. Everyone, stay tuned for exciting quizzes that we would have along the way in all of our virtual and in-person meetups. We would have a lot of giveaways that would include AWS credits and some cool swags of AWS Amplify. And also, apart from the sessions, we are going to have workshops as well. We will announce it shortly on our social handles. And talking about that, let me share about one contest that is going to happen. That's basically our social media contest. We are available on all three platforms with the handle AWS UG India. Please share your learnings along the way with your picture, with any pictures you might want to take of the sessions that are going, and use the hashtag 30 days of Amplify. Be assured that you'll receive cool swags, the best posts. Okay. I see that Nikhil is ready. Let me bring up his slides.
Cool. So looks like my screen's sharing, no problem, right?
Yeah, I can see it fine.
All right, cool. Let's get started. Yeah. So, hey, folks, today I'm going to talk a little bit about AWS Amplify and really like the value proposition we give developers. So, at a high level, Amplify offers tools and services for front-end developers to build full-stack apps. And our mission is really to help developers go from front-end to full-stack fast. So everything we do is around making the developer experience for front-end developers super slick on AWS. And that's kind of what drives us and motivates us. So let's talk a little bit about the audience to get started, right? Over time, what we've observed is that front-end developers have become full-stack developers. And why has this happened? So if we observe, let's look at what a typical full-stack application looks like. So on the front end, you have HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and now you have modern frameworks like React, Next.js, Angular, etc. that help you manipulate these frameworks, manipulate these files. And on the back end, you had your database servers with server-side languages, and your front end is connected to the back end via an API. There are two specific innovations that have happened in the last decade that have made this evolution possible. The first innovation was server-side languages with Node. So Node allowed you to run JavaScript in the front end as well as the back end. So you could use the same programming language across your entire stack. And then the second one was the serverless movement. So that Lambda, the AWS Lambda team kind of pioneered that in 2015, I believe, or 2016. And that really allowed developers to run server-side logic, business logic in compute environments without actually owning the servers and worrying about things like scale. So it really empowered what these two changes did is it really empowered front-end developers to be able to say, hey, I can build the full stack of the application. And that's kind of why we observe that front-end developers are now driving cloud decisions. And that's why we built Amplify. We built Amplify because we saw this opportunity and we saw that we front-end developers were becoming full stack, and they were coming on AWS and they were finding challenges with, hey, there's 10 different ways to build the same thing. Should I use containers? What is the right architecture? If I reflect on my own experience as a startup founder, when I chose to ship my startup, this was in 2010. It was a Ruby on Rails startup. I decided to go use Heroku at the time because Heroku was so slick and so easy to work with versus AWS. So we wanted to solve that problem. So Amplify took a very use case based approach, saying that, hey, if you're adding, here's the key capabilities you want to add to your application. Let's help you add them. So we've been in market now for, gosh, I want to say 7 years. And today we have hundreds of thousands of customers using Amplify to accelerate time to market. One very big customer, for example, is Amazon Music, where they really use some of our capabilities to enable like offline playlists and also capabilities with music, so you can share playlists in real time. Sorry. So what we've observed with the is also like a lot of adoption in the developer community. And over time we've seen a lot of developers adopt us. So really all the tools we build, we get great excitement with interacting with customers on GitHub. Sorry. Interacting with customers on GitHub, interacting with customers on Discord, Twitter. So the entire Amplify team, if you've not noticed, is very active on these channels, which is I'd say a little atypical for a lot of AWS teams. But it kind of highlights the fact that how much we love developers and really focusing and obsessing on developer experience. Here's like a little brief history of Amplify. So we started Amplify back in 2017. It was just a client library. It was a JavaScript library meant to make it easier to interface with your cloud backend from your React, Angular app, any JavaScript-based application. With that, in 2018, we launched the Amplify CLI that allowed you to actually build a backend, not just connect to a backend, but also build a backend. And that did really well. Customers could run commands like Amplify add auth, add API, and we would provision an entire cloud backend using CloudFormation. The same year, we launched a service that has been really big for us, which is Amplify Hosting. So if you're not familiar with Amplify Hosting, it's a fully managed web hosting service with built-in CI/CD that allows you to deploy static and server-rendered web applications. And that service was really like our service that kind of took us off, and people loved how you could host your front end and add a back end with the CLI. And we added more capabilities to that in 2020 and 2021, where we built, Admin UI became Amplify Studio, which so Studio was a visual companion to the CLI. So it gave you the ability to set up the same backend with a visual experience, but also administer that backend. So you could do things like browse your data, manage your users. And that did really well. So as we said, we have, it grew to hundreds of thousands of customers, but there were certain kind of friction points we hit that we needed to solve, and that kind of led us to our Gen 2 DX that I will kind of talk about very shortly. So largely, I think a lot of people, we also get these questions about what is Amplify, because Amplify is a lot of things. So just to simplify it, Amplify is two things. We have a hosting service. So this is the first part. So the Amplify Hosting is a fully managed web hosting service with built-in CI/CD. So the problem it solves is that customers, in order to build this stuff, would have to set up all these different services you see in the diagram here, with Route 53, Certificate Manager, CloudFront, API Gateway, S3, Lambda, even Fargate actually now for some features, Code Build, right? There was a lot of different primitives to stitch together in order to achieve the use case of auto deploying your site from a Git repository. So we kind of replaced all of this stuff with Amplify Hosting, and that allows customers to go straight from Git to a fully deployed website with like branches and team environments and things like that. And I believe there's a demo coming up. Someone else is going to be talking about a demo of hosting so you can kind of get to learn more about it. So I talked about hosting, and the second thing we have is we have Amplify backend, which gives you, and it's largely led with the Gen 2 DX. So Gen 2 offers a new backend building DX. So I didn't really get into Gen 2 earlier. Let me talk about why we did Gen 2 before I get into the feature set. So for a lot of our Gen 1 customers and customers who like used us and then also moved on to other tools, told us that they loved how Gen 1 felt like magic. But if you were leaving the beaten path, it became complicated to like deal with your application as it grew. And then the second thing we heard was that teams found it challenge. It was a challenging workflow for teams for a variety of reasons. And finally, what the thing that developers told us they really wanted to do was to iterate really quickly when they were while they were building locally. So I want to be able to make changes, deploy them fast, see the results, within seconds versus waiting for like long CloudFormation deployments. So that's kind of we synthesized all that feedback from years of interacting with customers, and we launched the Gen 2 DX, that is TypeScript first. So it's all TypeScript. So it allows customers to define the backend in TypeScript. It's fully integrated with the Amplify hosting CI/CD workflow, so works beautifully with teams. There's a clear file-based convention, so which I'll show you as we kind of proceed in this demo. And then the third thing we kind of launched was per developer sandbox environments that allow developers to work locally on their own kind of environment, but work really fast. And all of this was built, unlike Gen 1, we built this layered on CDK. So if you run into issues that, let's say I want to add SNS and it's not supported natively by Amplify, you could get the flexibility and control with CDK. So you could dive into L2 or even L1 CDK constructs and add those capabilities to your app. So the goal is to set you up with a full stack project that you can grow with as you go from small to big. Cool. So I'll spend this time kind of diving into the capabilities you get with the Gen 2 DX, right? I'll first start with hosting. I think one of the things we did is we kind of brought in the Gen 1 experience felt a little bit disconnected with hosting and the backend stuff. We kind of brought that experience together. So to get started, you basically deploy what you do is you connect your project. Excuse me. Once you deploy your front end, adding a back end is pretty straightforward. So you run this npm create amplify command, and what we do is we scaffold out a folder structure, like a pretty minimal folder structure that is easy to grow with in your application. So for example, as you can see here, there's an auth folder, there's a data folder, and the resource.ts file. So this is kind of your backend definition that is then fed into your project structure. So here's kind of what the architecture of your application would look like. So you have your front end, and your front end talks to the back end, and your auth is powered by Cognito, data is powered by AppSync and Dynamo, Lambda. But all that is defined in like your resource.ts files, and the resource.ts files, as you'll see, kind of offer some of that Gen 1 DX where it's simple to understand. For data, you're still focused on your data model. You're not focused on defining a DynamoDB table or a Lambda function. You're like, hey, what's my schema? And we deploy the necessary resources in your account. With Amplify, we've always been very intentional of choosing to deploy resources in your account versus trying to manage the authentication and data, like giving you something fully managed on the back end, because we believe that's the right thing to do. At AWS, every service team is funded to manage their own operations. If Amplify was trying to manage everything on the back end, it would not scale. So what we've heard from a lot of customers who've come to us from competitors is that they come to us because they hit ceilings on these like other abstractions. So we have a relatively unique approach to the way we approach abstracted backends. And yeah, so I talked about the file convention. It's a faster setup like this. You can see the change from Gen 1 to Gen 2. This is a typo. Gen 2 is now GA. It's not a preview. But you can see like the number of files is drastically fewer in your project. So yeah, let's talk about fast full stack iteration. So the cool thing about Gen 2, this is kind of my favorite thing actually, is that as a developer, we can all work individually. If you're a web developer and you're familiar with how npm run dev works, is where you get a localhost dev server where you can work against. We launched sandboxes basically work the same way, where you have a backend dev server. So as you make edits to your code, and you hit save, the backend changes that get auto deployed. So in this case, all 4 developers in the team have their own backend environment which they're working against and testing against. This really helps because you can work independently without worrying about, without Nikhil worrying about nuking Danny's changes, for example. That was a very common problem we faced in Gen 1. So the iteration experience in Gen 1 was you add a database table by editing a schema file, running a CLI command, updating front-end code, validating in the browser. Same kind of workflow for every iteration, right? Now in Gen 2, basically the flow is you kick off the sandbox, and then you edit your data code, you hit save, you update your front end code. That's it. So it's updating it is much faster because the experience is kind of like how you update front end code, right? You make a change, you hit save, you see the preview, and it's made available. And TypeScript allows us to do some interesting things because you get things like IntelliSense, autocomplete, and you can catch errors at compile time versus build time, right? So you'll see a squiggly line if you have a type that doesn't exist in the backend. So the thing on the right here is your backend schema. So here I've defined a to-do model, right? And on the left, I get the type. So if it's a to-do model with content, location, the on my client code, I'll very easily be able to just kind of see. Let me actually pause it there because it went and started looping. But as you can see, if I add a priority field on my backend and I don't define it, I try and give it a different type, you see a squiggly line right away. So the benefits of this code first approach are, besides the fact that you get this fully typed system, is like it's also helpful with like GenAI assistance, right? Because you can like feed in like your AI assistants like Copilot, Q are good at generating code, can't really run compute uh, or like arbitrary CLI commands. So this is also very like a great foundation for GenAI. And this video here kind of highlights like the iteration experience. So like we still have a first time, for full transparency, there's a first time setup. When you create, it takes a little bit of time, but then as you iterate, as you can see, like the changes are kind of deployed in seconds versus what used to be minutes. So you're able to make a change in your backend schema, go edit your front end. Let's say in this schema you got post and comments, and now you've added a new field and you want that field to show up on your front end. By the time you made that change, you're ready to work. You're ready to see it. So it feels much faster, and we continue to invest in this. So we're not we're not uh, we're not happy with where we are right now. We want to be way better. We want to keep getting that time down because fast is fun. So we want developers to have fun with this while they're building. And we also have this capability for UI generation. So you can go from, like, for your schema, we can generate forms for you automatically. And this is just a start. We're going to kind of extend this behavior over time. But for now, like, if you generate a schema, you run a generate forms command, you get a form that matches your data model. Cool. So I talked a little bit about deploying to production and teams, right? I think a big change we made from with Gen 2 is we kind of reimagined what a full stack environment is. We actually made it much. If you're coming from Gen 1, we had this concept of front end, back end environments, and you had to kind of map these two things together. But we actually made it much simpler in Gen 2. We said, hey, all your Git branches are your environments. So if you have an app and you've got like a main, dev, staging branch, and you want those three branches, you just deploy those three branches, and you've got different environments. And they're basically completely independent environments. So you can have your QA, you can test your QA stuff on a lower branch, and then when you're ready to merge, you open a PR. We have a PR preview feature where you can generate ephemeral environments, test it, merge it, and it's changes are auto deployed to prod. So here's the kind of a diagram of what that works out to be. So you've got your dev team in this box here. If you Git repo, you have main and dev branches. Just connect those in the Amplify console, and you've got full stack environments for main and dev that your team can work against. Apologies for the grainy image here, but the other interesting thing is we built like the centralized environment variables and secrets management experience. So all the secrets management service stored in the secrets and environment variables are stored in the Amplify service and can be accessed in your clients via we have like a secret function and process.env, which is pretty standard on how you access environment variables. And we merged all the functionality you saw in the Studio Console into, well, all the admin functionality you saw in the Studio Console into the Amplify console. So you have an auth management experience, you've got your data management experience. This video is a little old. All of this stuff is available now. You've got storage, functions. So I'll give you some examples. So when you generate a database, you might want to generate seed data for the database. So you generate seed data, or you've got you've already got a production application and some data is getting created, and you want to validate whether the data has been created properly. You can use the data manager experience or the API playground experience. Similarly, for functions, you want to see the logs of your functions. You can view the logs. So we've given like a single pane into your entire backend, versus requiring you to like jump to each individual service consoles. Of course, you can still do that. We still provide links to you. Like as you see, like our default example, we deploy a lot of resources. And so what we've given you is also like deep links, so you can go to those resources if needed, right? But what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a centralized place for you to kind of admin your app to, so you don't need to kind of jump around for most of your use cases. Yeah, and lastly, like I think connecting to AWS beyond Amplify. So, this example here is when you want to use capabilities that are not available in Amplify with CDK, because we're built on CDK, it's like a native experience almost, right? You're able to import CDK libraries and constructs, and in this example, you have a location maps. You're adding some maps capabilities. We don't have it built in to our Gen 2 default experience, but you can very easily extend it. And we make all the resource references available to your client as well, so your client can consume the resources that were created. Great. So that's the end of my demo. Just to show you what an app looks like now, because our product is in GA. I'll just kind of make this bigger. So we have, you have basically an environment, and within an environment, you have, you could access your users, right? And you, like in this app I have, I believe I have auth and data, so I can access my data. This is like a this is a to do application. I can very easily create a new to do. And I don't know what UI this application has, but it'll be typically linked to your front end as well. Um, yeah, so thanks so much. I mean, we're really looking forward to seeing what you build with uh, with Amplify, with all, just the full stack of experience. One other shout out is that we do have this is it's not yet in production. Sorry, we have a preview release of what is a new, what are some new capabilities we're adding with Amplify AI. What that gives you is the ability to add an AI assistant that has context about your user data very easily. It's kind of all very much in line with the Amplify experience. So you get a chat experience that is fully customizable. You get tools that you can use, and it's very easy to add context about your users' data. So with this chat assistant in particular has capabilities for you to render custom UI. It's got streaming support. It will be there by GA, and it also has the ability to be able to, like, you can upload documents and things like that, and fully customizable. We built this in a way where if you want to use this with Material or Chakra UI, or whatever UI library you're using, you can use it with that. So do check this out as well, um, you, while you kind of explore Amplify. And thanks, that's the end of my demo.
Awesome. Thanks, Nikhil. Thanks a lot for taking time out from across seven seas to give us an overview of the overall timeline of AWS Amplify and the things that we have been able to achieve with it, the
Yeah,
capabilities.
absolutely. Were there any questions that, while I'm here, I have a few more minutes, if there are any particular questions that worth taking?
Yeah, there were some, but I think that the team has answered them in the chat.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, if you are open to it, let me ask one.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. So, are you uh, open to consider a creation of light AWS Amplify account, AWS accounts per se, wherein users would sign up directly from a different kind of console, like sign up from a different kind of console, and would have would probably not be required to enter the credit card details, and that ways they would only have access to, say, AWS Amplify and a couple of other free AWS resources, and not the entire AWS suite.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, that's as you know, for us, that's something that has internally at least come up many times over the years I've been here. I guess the short answer is, like, it's not currently in our plans, but there are broader conversations going on in the organization evaluating the idea. I think that's kind of all I can say. Like, it's an idea that has got some internal resonation. There are people who are passionate about this idea. So it's not an easy thing for us to do, because, as you imagine, at AWS scale, there's a lot of things that you deal with. So, but it is something that is being considered.
Awesome. Thanks, Nikhil. Thanks for your time again, and
Absolutely.
thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thanks so much.
thank you. Okay, we'll let you go, Nikhil, now, and get back to your sleep. Thanks, Nikhil. Okay, so after Nikhil, we have Sunil, who will be sharing an introductory talk to Amplify. He is a technical trainer. Let's welcome Sunil. Hey, Sunil, would you like to join us on stage? Hey, Sunil, you are on mute in case you are speaking.
Hi, Aman.
Hey, Sunil, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Thank you. Sunil, as I said, is a technical trainer at CMR IT, and will be talking about introduction to Amplify. Sunil, over to you.
Sure. So,
Would you like to
good
share your
afternoon,
screen?
everyone who are joining from India. And
Yes, Sunil, would you like to share your screen?
yes, sure. I hope my screen is visible now.
Yes, it's visible.
I am on slide deck.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let me start with how I get to know about AWS Amplify. How very first time I got chance to work with it about 7 8 months back when I was doing some workshop in AWS uh, portal. So there I got to connect with AWS Amplify and how fast I get deployed my application. So that influenced me. And then afterwards, I explore it and then it got to know that AWS having a lot of services for various use cases and for full stack developers there is a service which is doing a great and it is very fast delivering and in generation 2 as Nikhil's spoken about how it is providing a unified interface for hosting and backend and UI. So a person who started from front-end developer becomes the full stack developer. So it is very interesting talk. Let's may start. So why we are saying it code first approach to full stack development? I will let you go through all the things which will most of the concept will overlap with the our keynote speaker. So what is AWS Amplify? So Amplify is a service on the AWS which provides a complete platform, frameworks, tools, and app services for developing, building, testing, and running mobile and full stack web apps. So for if you are a web development and if you are using like your in your local computer, like what how we start by like writing in a Visual Studio Code separately and then installing a database like MongoDB and here and there we are doing all the things. But here AWS Amplify is providing all that services in a unified way in a single place. So here you will anyone can easy to start, quick to start. I will show you some screenshot in the later slides that how anyone can very easily start and as you move as your number of customers increasing traffic increasing more on your website you can scale your application very easily. So this is the Amplify documentation page, and here you can see it is on the top left. It is showing Gen 2 by default. So there were as in the last week we got to know about that it starts from 2017, and in Gen 2 is about we are using generation 2.1 with a lot of capabilities which Gen 1 was missing and it is supporting a lot of frameworks languages. I will walk through you on the AWS portal itself. So and so for full stack development we need three things or three components. Very first, we need to build our user interface. So for user interface, what AWS Amplify is providing, AWS Amplify is providing connected forms. So many types of form you will get over Amplify portal. Figma to React. So Figma we use to design our UI, and from design you can get your React code. Next, for UI, we need authentication. So very simple 10 lines of code, you will get that authenticator module active in your UI. Then they have Amplify having other uh, capabilities also, like storage image. You can store a lot of images, file uploader, and so many other features under the category of or user interface. Second component of full stack development is backend. So for backend, there is authentication, data manager, storage, functions like serverless functions, and so many other facility available. And last component is deployment. So for deployment, we need to host it. So in the next session also, you will get to know how you can deploy in that workshop. So front end hosting and separate cloud sandbox environment for each developers, so that they can work efficient and the in a productive manner. So how Amplify works? So till now we saw that there are three major components for full stack development. One is UI, another is backend, and another is deployment. So let's jump on how Amplify works. And as we get to know about TypeScript, that full stack application with TypeScript. So here you can see all those three components, how they are all integrated together. So front-end hosting and app front-end, and this app front-end is supported by Amplify libraries for integrating with cloud data, and Figma to code, like to clean React code from Figma designs. From designs, you are getting the React code and other UI components in your front-end component. And in back-end component, you can see a lot of cloud backend is associated for authorization, data storage, and other purposes like AWS S3, AWS DynamoDB. And so these are the three components which we are focusing, like hosting, front end, and back end, and they are in a unified manner. We are getting a single place on our dashboard. I will show you. So the capabilities of AWS Amplify is about local development, faster local development, just like every developer having their own cloud sandbox environment. They are independently working on various features, and so they are achieving faster iteration. So this is the same already we have seen in the keynote speak about how different developers are working in their local machine, and they are getting they have their own app backend, app front end, which making the product very fast to the market. Next is about full stack Git based environments, that it makes enable us to make different environments for our different use cases, like testing features. We have ephemeral environments, and there is no config setup required in generation 2. In Gen 1, there was a lot of configuration. Developer have to, there is a requirement of setup, but in Gen 2, there is a very minimal configuration setup is there. So you can see here, this is the dev team and Git repository having two branches like main and dev, and they have their independent Amplify console. And so staging is for dev branch, where they are testing and they are experimenting, and there is a production branch which is exclusive from other branches. So this is the capability provided by Amplify. And last but not the least, that unified management console, to what we have discussed about hosting, building, and for other supporting resources for data, authorization, and storage purposes. And also there is a centralized management of to store environment variables and secrets on that unified management console. So this is the console. This is the screenshot of the console, where when you can see here all apps it is showing. So you can see your all apps, whatever you have deployed. So here you can also experiment with. There is a very quick start to do app you can start with. So I have experimented with that. And this is a hosting. You will get app ID. It is on main branch, and here it is the domain where you can access it. And there is a visit deployed URL, so you can visit here also. And these are the left panel, you can see hosting and app settings, general settings, branch settings. So use these settings you can configure from this side. And one more component is that for full stack development is user interface library. So Amplify UI is a collection of accessible and themable, performant React and other components that can connect directly to the cloud. So using Amplify UI, you will get cloud connected, focus on your UI, and let us take care of the rest. So you will get a lot of component here which you can integrate with your application. And last one is about what is the pricing of AWS. So AWS Amplify pricing is about per use case. Left side is use cases, and then right side is pricing. So like deploying an app, and there are two cases: one with AWS free tier and without AWS free tier. So deploying an app for free tier is free for 12 months, and if you are accessing it with without free tier, so you have to pay for what you use as pay as you go model. Build and deploy, it will cost you in $0.01 per minute in case of without AWS free tier. Similarly, data storage having cost, data transfer, request count, and request duration. And the remaining pricing you can see, like, because it is has been auth powered by Amazon Cognito. So Cognito free tier or Cognito pricing will be enabled here. Similarly, Amazon DynamoDB pricing will be considered here. So these what other services AWS Amplify is using, the pricing will come from their specific AWS services only. And you can see the last row, that develop front-end UI, that is always free. You can use it free of cost. There is no charge for that. And a small demo which already have been that to-do app we have discussed already. Like when you deploy, you will get that notification that your application has been deployed, and the name of application is to-do app demo, and it is on prod branch, that is main branch. You have updated uploaded it. And this is the unified management console where you can see about the deployment and deployment history along with deployed backend resources. And in left panel, you can see a lot of components like authentication, data, storage, functions, and UI library, which we have already discussed. And this is the simple the My To Do app where I have added some to do task. And further, you can add him here authentication, deletion, and many things you can add here. And this is the data manager part, that is from data component, that whatever we are adding from console, it will get an ID and content, and at what time it get created and updated. Similarly, you can also create your to-do actions from here also, that will get reflected on UI. So as a conclusion, Amplify Generation 2 simplifies full stack development. It enhances collaboration among developers. So they are becoming more productive because they are working separately, separate sandboxes, and they are working in iterations. So the product will get launched very fast. And it provides tools for managing cloud infrastructure. So if as a front-end developer, you do not have cloud expertise, So you have not to be a cloud expert for using AWS Amplify. That is the best thing which I have observed in using AWS Amplify. So thank you. This all I have to covered.
Thanks. Excuse me. Thanks, Sunil, for taking time out to talk to us about the introductory concept of AWS Amplify, and hope to see you around again soon.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks, Sunil. Bye. So with that, let's bring our next speaker, Rajani, on our main stage. Hey, Rajani, how are you doing?
Yes, hi Aman. I'm good, thanks.
Thanks for joining us today, Rajni. Rajni is a software engineer at Global Logic, and she's a passionate tech lover. She keeps sharing technical articles and videos like this. And we are happy to have you today, Rajni, on our kickoff session today. Rajni will be
Thanks
talking
for
about
inviting me.
how hosting can be made simple, especially the deployment, the management, and the scaling aspects of AWS Amplify. Rajni, would you like to share your screen?
Yes, sure. Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so hi guys, good afternoon to all of you. So I will be talking on how this hosting is, how we can make hosting simple by making use of AWS Amplify. So we'll be talking about deployment, management, and scaling of the application with AWS Amplify. So before getting into the actual topic, I would like to introduce myself. So as someone gave a brief intro, so my name is Rajani and I'm working as a DevOps engineer with Global Logic. And apart from that, I'm also like recently got selected as a Docker captain too. So let's get into the actual topic. So first thing we have is what is AWS Amplify. So I won't stretch this topic as Nikhil and Sunil talked about this topic. So how we can make use of AWS Amplify and how we can go from idea to the actual deployment of the application in us. So this is how the AWS Amplify is helping us with the actual deployment. Okay, so I'll just give a brief of this overview of AWS Amplify. So we can just take an example that suppose if you are you have developed an application like that is a social media application we'll take for example, and that application is basically for like people can come there and they can upload their photos and other people can comment on it, and you also have configured some of the real-time notifications. So these kind of functionalities you have given to your application, and you want that application to be deployed on both the platforms. It is supposed to be uploaded as a mobile application too and also a web application. So you have configured this application in this way, and you before the development or in mid of the development process or after completion of the development of the application, you want to deploy the application and you want to check how exactly this is going to look when this will go live to the public. So for this purpose, this use case, you can make use of AWS Amplify and you can just take all the source code that you have developed and you can quickly go ahead and make use of Amplify, and you can deploy that application like that will be having your front end, your back end. So everything you can take and you can deploy within minutes. So this is how AWS Amplify is helping us to deploy the applications. And talking about why we need to go with AWS Amplify. So again, I have specified here some of the major important points. So first thing is of course that Nikhil was talking how it is helping us to deploy the full stack applications with the ease. Like the overall deployment process is very simplified, and the user interface that we are having for AWS Amplify is very easy, and the entire process of kind of creation or integration between the version control system where you have stored your source code. So to integrate these two things and hosting is very simple process here by making use of AWS Amplify. And again, Amplify is providing us comprehensive suite both for front end and the back end needs of your application. And another thing that it is also providing us built-in CI/CD. So CI/CD is nothing but continuous integration and continuous deployment. So how on the go, like we can consider that you have hosted your application, and on the go you got to know that okay, this new feature that I need to add in my application. So on the go you can develop that feature, and you can quickly integrate that into the actual source code, and quickly you can see on the production how that is getting reflected. So this built-in CI/CD feature is provided in AWS Amplify. Then again, we have automatic scaling option. So suppose if your application got very, very popular and you are getting a lot of traffic on your application, so even when it comes to automatic scaling of the application, so that use case also AWS Amplify is going to complement. So again, like it's gonna work with various languages and frameworks. Like we have Swift, we have Android, Java, so multiple frameworks and languages it's gonna support. Talking about the core components of AWS Amplify, so first one is of course going to be hosting, like how it's giving us a platform where we can host the application, the full stack application, we can host it, and we can continuously like consider that it's giving us the CI/CD feature inbuilt in the same platform, so we can continuously deploy the application based on whatever new updates that you are doing. And talking about data store, so data store is nothing but it's going to give you real-time data synchronization process. Like even if you are offline, so then also you can keep working, and once you are back, you are connected to the internet, you can create the synchronization between the data. So this is how data store is going to work. And also we have this APIs as one of the important component, that you can easily make use of this REST APIs, GraphQL APIs for whatever use case you have. So for that, we can easily connect with these APIs. And talking about authentication, so this is basically used to improve the overall security of AWS Amplify. Like, of course, you can go ahead and make use of the third-party authentication tools, or we are having this multi-factor authentication. So these kind of authentication purposes we can make use to improve the overall security. Talking about how exactly this AWS Amplify service is different from all the other services that we have in market. So many features are there. So first one is gonna be the full stack development simplified. So you just need to have your full stack application with you, and you can just directly go to Amplify, and you can deploy that application without making use of any kind of third party tool for any specific purpose. So it's giving you all in one platform to deploy the application. And again, we are having these managed services for automatic scaling. Like for automatic scaling purposes, we can easily go ahead and make use of Beanstalk service we are having with AWS Amazon, so that we can make use for scaling purposes. Then again, we have built-in CI/CD for continuous integration and continuous deployment. So this is how it is again like kind of creating a differentiation. And we are having this easy authentication and security integration, so that also we can make use of multi-factor authentication and like some mobile or text-based systems to improve the authentication process. Then we are having real-time and offline capability. So we talked about data store, like how we can make use of this real-time data that you are receiving, and you can kind of create a synchronization when you are offline and online. And like this making use of AWS Amplify is gonna like reduce a lot of load on the developer's head, as once we have configured the thing for the deployment process, like the developer can be carefree, and that person can go ahead and focus more on creation of the more features or improving the overall source code functionalities. And like that person can go ahead and like forget about the actual infrastructure or the deployment process. So this is how it's again like improving the overall productivity of the developer. So talking about the actual deployment process, so Sunil was showing the all the interface and stuff. So first thing, we'll have to just open the Amplify console, and we'll just have to see the CLI, and where you have stored your source code for the application. We just have to create an integration, whether you have hosted your application on GitHub, Bitbucket, or GitLab. So we are having like multiple options there. So we will see. I have a small demonstration to do. So there we'll see how you can go ahead and make use of these version control systems. But even if suppose if you have not stored your source code on any of these version control systems, but you have a different URL for that, or on the go you need to create. So these options are also provided there. And once you have created that connection between your version control system and the Amplify, you can go ahead and you can configure the deployment settings, and then you can just trigger the builds. We will be performing all these steps, okay, when we will perform the hands-on. Talking about the benefits, so CI/CD is very important when we are talking about actual deployment of the application. So what are the benefits now as compared to the AWS Amplify? So automatic build triggers by code changes. So once you have like created the actual deployment of the application, and in the backend, in the background, you are making any changes to your source code. So like based on whatever changes you're doing, you will quickly see that automatic builds will get triggered, and based on that builds, you can see the new features, new additions of your source code will be reflected in the actual production application. And again, we are having this easy rollback to previous versions. Like suppose if you updated new feature and you are kind of not happy with the feature, and you need to roll back to the more stable previous version, so that also you can easily roll back to the previous version of your deployment. And again, we are having this customizable build and deployment settings. So based on need of the developer, easily we can go ahead and we can create different environments for different builds. And we can, suppose if you're having any kind of customized environment variable, so those also we can make use and we can add. So this is how we can customize the build process. Talking about the console management and monitoring, so also we are having, once application is deployed, we can easily go ahead and we can manage like what are the logs in real time. So we can see all the logs, and like you can see that how application is performing in the production, and like what's the traffic that you are getting, what's the error rate that you are receiving. So these all things we can check in the managing and monitoring window that we are having. And also we are having access to version history and manage environment. So whatever previous versions that you have deployed, so you'll be having access to all these versions, and you can easily go ahead and manage, and you can see all the logs there. Also when it comes to scaling of the application, so based on the traffic that you are receiving, again AWS Amplify is giving us this feature of automatic scaling for backend and the hosting resources. And again, we are having this configurable caching mechanism. So whatever like most used or recently used data you are having, so you can easily create caches of these, and you can reduce the latency, and you can just improve the overall user experience there. And again, we are having this seamlessly handling traffic without any kind of manual intervention. So when it comes to handling the traffic, when it comes to scaling the application, so there won't be any need for any manual intervention. So automatically these all things will be done. So this is how again AWS Amplify is helping us with scaling. Okay, so we'll quickly jump into the hands-on. So I will quickly create a repository, because that will give you guys a more good idea. Okay, we'll just simply host a simple HTML page. So name Amplify live demo. Okay, public repository, add a readme, create a repository. Okay, so I'll just simply create a file here, index.html, and I have a code here, HTML code. So this will simply print like hello from AWS Amplify and welcome to the first hosted website. I'll just commit this. So this is the repository I will be using to host. So going back to AWS console, here is AWS Amplify we are having. Okay, so here is how this is how the interface looks like. So this was deployed by me 1 hour ago. So we will create a new deployment, create a new application. Okay, so here you can see like multiple options you have provided, like where you have actually stored your source code. Either it's on GitHub, Bitbucket, Code Commit, or GitLab. So wherever it is, you can go ahead with that. And suppose if you want to deploy without Git, so that option also is provided here. So I have my application hosted on GitHub. So I'll select that and click on next. So this will basically authenticate. AWS is authenticating with my GitHub. So right now you can see the new repo is not there as I created it right away. So I'll just have to update the GitHub permissions for that. So only selected repositories. Okay, select the repo. Okay, so this is the repository. Save. Okay, I have selected this, but it's getting hang. Let me do it again. Okay, this is done. Okay, we'll just go ahead with this. Live demo not working in a live session is a thing. I guess there's something that.
I guess no technical presentation with the live demo, and that too not having a glitch. That's not kind of.
Exactly. The last thing that I had expected was this not working.
That's all.
Okay, it's there. It's popping there. So this is the new repository that we had created. I'll
Yeah.
select it. So let me see the branch. This is the master branch. The branch is selected. Next. So here is the name of the application. And these are the build settings. So as my application is just a simple HTML page, so there won't be any need to do any kind of build commands or any kind of, like this you can update based on your requirement. So I'll keep this by default and next. So here is the review, repository service, repository and branch and stuff. Everything is fine. Save and deploy. Okay, so it's deploying. So this will the URL where we can see the final output. So as the process, it's in progress, so it will take, I guess, 30-40 seconds maybe.
What was your first project that you ever created using AWS Amplify, Rajani?
I guess there was some OneStack application that I had like deployed, but that was long back.
Yeah, the deployment takes some time because the infrastructure is getting provisioned. Yeah, seems
Yeah,
that
it's done.
ready.
Here, okay, you can see this is deployed now, and this is the final output. So my HTML page is printing this, so you can see this. So also we'll make some changes in the background and we'll see. But before that, I'll just quickly show how you can see the monitoring stuff. Okay, so monitoring. Okay, here you can see the metrics for the deployed application. Okay, so right now there's no data. Let me just refresh. Okay, you can see some activity here is happening. So the request and the request summary, the data transfer summary, and the error. So this is the time to first byte. So these all things we can see here in the monitoring. Also, if you want to configure any kind of alarms, so here you can configure the alarms too based on whatever requirement you have. So based on that, we can create alarms. This is the logs. So you can see the logs here. And again, we are having, like I was talking about customizable builds, okay, when I was discussing the presentation. So if you're having some kind of like specific environment variable, so that we can go ahead and we can add here. And next we have is notifications, like suppose if you want to configure any notifications, like suppose if your build is getting failed, you want a notification for that. Your build got successful, so you want notification for that, so that also we can configure. And this is the access control, like who should be able to see your deployment or your source code, so that those things we can configure here. And we'll just quickly make some change to the actual source code, and we will see how the CI/CD is implementing, and it's triggering the automatic build. So I'll just make some change. So my first, I'll just add here. Okay, so I'll just simply add here AWS User Group. Okay, and commit the changes. So we'll go back. So you can see automatically it started this deploying. So I didn't do anything. So in the backend, in the background, it automatically initiated a new build. Again, it will take some seconds to deploy.
How cool is that a lot of functionalities are available out of the box. The CI/CD is available out of the box. The metrics are available out of the box, and we just have to concentrate on the development aspect.
Let me just refresh this. It's still getting deployed. Okay, this is done 45 seconds ago. Refreshing this. Okay. No, it's still deploying. Okay, this is the second build. Okay, this is also done. Deployment 2. Going back, refreshing.
I think this might be a different URL than the first deployment.
Okay. So this was deployment 2. This is the domain. Okay, this is the I had committed. Let me do another commit. We'll see that bit. This should work. I'll just add a star here.
Can you please paste the repository link, GitHub repository link in the chat?
Sure. This one.
No, your GitHub repository.
Okay, sure. Just 1 minute. So in which chat? This one. Okay. Okay, this build got successful. Okay, still it's not there. I don't know what can be the issue. Let me see another way. I had one more deployment with me. Deployment for this demo 1. So we will try updating this demo 1 repository. Let me see if that is working. Okay, so right now this demo 1 is giving this output. This is the final output. Okay. I'll just make some change to this. I hope at least this should work.
Also try opening that link in an incognito window just to ensure that there is no caching issue involved.
Let me just try with this report. Then so this is done. Going back.
Can you share the latest deployment URL as well?
The latest repository link you are saying?
No, the deployment URL.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what's the issue with this now.
That's why live demos are meant to be broken.
Exactly. This was working 1 hour before and now it's not working. This is for demo 1. Okay. No, it's not working. Maybe some configuration we have to do with repository, I feel.
Let's probably park this thing for later. And yeah, we can. So we have shared the Discord link in the chat. We can probably, and then that soon there is going to be a new channel for called 30 Days of Amplify, and we are also going to have like very good announcements for all the developers who want to get into the hands-on mode. It's not just the live workshops that we are going to conduct, but it's something more. So that's good. The announcement is going to happen tomorrow, so everyone stay tuned. Don't worry about that. Rajani will come back to that. That happens in live demos.
Right. Especially in live demos, that's going to happen.
Absolutely. Thank you again for your time here. And yeah, hope that we are able to find a solution later. Yeah, but for everyone else who have been waiting for a quiz, let me bring on stage Sroshit. Yes, Sroshit.
Hey Aman, hello everyone.
Hey everyone. Sroshit is an AWS user group lead, as well as he is one of the first AWS heroes from India. He keeps traveling to the signature AWS event that happens every year in US, the AWS reInvent. And he's, are you flying this year as well?
Yeah, most likely, yes.
Awesome. Okay, so let me give the stage to you. Take it away with the quiz.
Great. I hope my screen is visible.
Okay, it's visible now.
Okay, perfect. So we've been sharing this link in the chat all throughout the day. So just sharing the screenshot, this page again. If you have not already registered for the quiz that we're going to have, please do register now. So we're going to have some nice goodies for the winners. So, and this is a tournament that we're going to run throughout the 30 days of Amplify. So every event that we're going to host, we're going to have a quiz at the end of the session. So please do join us for every event. The agenda has already been updated on the page that you have registered in, or we have already shared in the comment section. Please do register and you will get an idea and updates on the events that we are going to do. So after every event, we are going to do a quiz. And towards the end of the 30 days of Amplify, the 1 month activity, we are going to pick the top 10 winners of the tournament and give you goodies. So please do join us, not just today, for every event, not only to learn, but have some fun and get some goodies as well. So I'm going to keep this screen open for another minute, waiting for people to join. Okay, I can see people registering. Just wait for another few more seconds. I hope all of you are having a great start for your weekend, getting to learn about Amplify and everything. So we are looking forward to listening what you learned on social media. As we have already announced, we have a social media contest. So please do make sure to share about the event within your network, and let's spread the word. Okay, I am assuming most of you have joined. So just in the last 10 seconds.
And the quick announcement, Rajani was able to figure out what was wrong. So right after this quiz, she'll come back on stage and share with us what was the reason for that.
Awesome. Okay, I am assuming that we are good to go. I'm starting with the quiz. Okay, assuming all of you all have joined, starting with the first question. So you should see the first question in the next few seconds. Okay, when was AWS Amplify launched? I mean, you all have attended the session, so you should have done a little bit of background, looked at the history. This is to test if you have done your homework.
Yes, the answer was right there in the keynote. Everyone loves goodies, right?
Okay, so here we go. This is the final result. So the answer is 2017. Moving on to the next question. So which is the command to initialize a new Amplify project? This is an easy one. Amplify init, Amplify start, Amplify create, Amplify setup.
That's pretty straightforward. Come on, everyone should get it right.
Oh, that's good. Quite a lot of people have guessed it right. It is Amplify init, which is the one that you use to set up your project. Moving on to the next question. So there's going to be a total of 5 questions. Right now we are in the third one. Which is the one of the primary benefits of using AWS Amplify for deploying web applications? Managing server infrastructure for backend operations, automating the CI/CD pipelines, creating custom hardware for performance optimization, eliminating the need for a front-end framework. We just saw Rajani talk about web hosting. Perfect. So I think this is a big validation to your session, Rajani. Most of the people have answered the question right. Moving on to the last question. Which type of web projects are suitable for deployment with AWS Amplify, as discussed in the session? So blockchain applications, machine learning model training, single page applications, static websites, desktop applications. Last 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Oh, wow. Wow, that's... Oh,
Wow.
oh, nice, nice. Oh, yeah, this is the last question. Sorry, this is the last question.
Awesome. So how would it go, Suroshit? Would we announce it at the end of our like 30
No, this
days?
is the last one. No, wait, hold on. This is the last one. I thought I finished. This is the fifth one. I'm sorry. What is one of the key differences between Amplify hostings Gen 1 and Gen 2? And done. Gen 2 provides improved support for multi-region deployment. So great. So that is with the 5 questions for the quiz. We hope you got a lot of knowledge with respect to Amplify and get started with Amplify. So let's quickly take a look at the leaderboard. So we have Rupa Lahiri, then Anish Kumar and Agarwal. So the top 3 winners with 4 right answers. That's amazing. So the top 3 winners will get goodies from our side. We will be reaching out to you. And thank you so much, everyone who have participated in the quiz and most importantly, been a part of the event today where we kick off the 30 days of Amplify. We really hope you join us every event that we do in the next 30 days. And as we've already mentioned, there's something exciting that is coming your way. So please do join us every event.
Awesome. Thanks, Suroshit. And thank you everyone for participating in the quiz. We would continue to have these quizzes along with the knowledge sharing sessions along the way. Thanks, Suroshit, for your time.
Thank you.
Rajani, hope you're doing great. Would you like to
Yes.
join again? Hey,
Yes, Aman. I'm quickly sharing my screen.
go ahead.
Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay. So there was a real minor mistake that I did, that I was making changes to the title,
Oh,
okay,
wow.
and not the body of the. So I'll just make some change here. So again, AWS User Group updating. Okay. So again, you can see it started the automatic deploy. We'll just hit this URL. Okay, I guess this is done. Going back, refreshing, you can see this is what I had updated in my source code. So this is reflecting here in the actual like final output now. So this is how in real time we can configure the CI/CD for the applications which are hosted on AWS Amplify. So that was a really minor mistake that I was doing, but I understood it later on. So thanks, Aman, for letting me show this.
Thanks, Rajni. Sometimes it's just a minor mistake that we make and then they take away on our hard work, but it was not gone anywhere.
Right.
Glad that we were able to quickly see what was the issue and yeah, in the same session as well. Only that we were able to share the issue with everyone, and everyone was kind of so preoccupied that no one was able to see that the same
Right.
mistake that was being made.
No, I
Awesome.
saw in the chat section, like some people were like typing there, ki you are making changes to the header. So later on.
wow. Wow. Okay. Thanks a lot, Rajani, for your time. Thanks a lot to all our speakers
Thank you.
and all our attendees. It's going to be fun. There is going to be a very big announcement tomorrow for all the developers. So stay tuned on our social handles, as well as if you have still not registered, register using our registration link, which is available on the Confab handle. One of us from our team would also share it in the chat in some time. See you again on the 29th of October. Thank you all.